Is it an asset or a location? Great question. We touched on this a bit in our What is an Asset video, and we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper here. So in the world of Maximo, there is oftentimes a question on the table when we're dealing with large open spaces. Think, open factory floors with multiple production lines, or systems that are like, in the jeans business, making blue jeans, the machines that are spinning the thread, the yarn, are like hundreds of yards. They're huge, hundreds of feet long. And so is that just one location? Great questions. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at what Maximo gives us the capability to do, and then start breaking down from there. Because at the end of the day, the technology at times does become the limiting factor, right? And at other times, the ability for a human to absorb what's around them also becomes a limiting factor. And when I say that by absorb what's around them, more often than not, what that really means is, what is my line of sight in a particular location on a plant floor? If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. So when we look at very large equipment, first off, what's very common and actually arguably very good practice is, if I have one singular large piece of equipment, and even though it has subcomponents, subsystems and subcomponents that it can be broken down, and those may also be assets, the whole, that boiler, that chiller, is oftentimes recognized as the top level asset. And if I look at the plant floor, I'll see painted lines around it dictating that this is the area that it lives in, and oftentimes then the safety space, walk areas, and things like that. And somehow there's probably even an asset ID painted in there. Hopefully that relates back to Maximo, so you can find it in the system. And that location will be synonymous one-to-one with that boiler, and that makes perfect sense. It's a good practice. It helps people visually see things on the floor and understand what something is, what they're looking at. And it's not uncommon as we get into larger industries, you have multiples lined up of that exact same very large piece of equipment. And so for someone who is new to the facility, when they walk in, they see 6 of the same thing and they're supposed to go fix one of them. That can end up being confusing. So it helps them get to the right location and therefore the right asset. Great practice. Now, at times, we also have to break things down into, I'm going to say it's virtual locations, and very similar to what I just described, those lines on the floor that represent where that boiler are. There's no walls around it, right? And so it's not like there's a door with a number on it type scenario. So you're breaking down this extremely large plant floor into sections. And so what we want to look at when we are doing that is how we not only leverage the location hierarchy in Maximo, but we also want to look at the usage of the system's functionality within the locations application. So what systems are in locations are views of your location hierarchy, views of your locations actually, with a hierarchical display. Now that hierarchy that's displayed can be different, and it doesn't have to use all the locations. It can use a subset. So let's bring this to reality real quick. Bring it home here. So within a typical home, we have an electrical system, and we also have a freshwater plumbing system, and we'll have a wastewater plumbing system. So three different systems. Let's go with fourth, HVAC. Got 4. Now, those typically run within the walls, attics, ceilings, crawl spaces, interstitial spaces that we don't see in the home, but they're all in there. And each one of those, if we were to set up that home on Maximo and start identifying locations, well, the location hierarchy that represents how my fresh water flows would be different than the location hierarchy of how my HVAC flows, and different from my wastewater flow. So what Maximo allows us to do is to create a system and then rearrange those locations as if they're Lego bricks, and give me a different view of that same set of locations. Now remember, I don't have to use all of them. It's just a subset, right, of the total locations. So I will set up my location hierarchy related to my fresh water, very different than I will set up my location hierarchy that is for my HVAC system. Now, what that allows me to do is, if I'm an HVAC tech, then I'm just coming in and I'm quickly going HVAC system. And then I see, oh, it's going across this office, down this wall, over this cafeteria. I start to see those things very quickly. So it eliminates a whole lot of discovery on my part because my location hierarchy is telling me what happens. That's the point of that. Help me get to where I need to be quickly. Now, let's back out of that deep dive, back up to the plant floor. So on a plant floor, if I'm trying to follow my my three-phase electrical run, well, it should tell me all the locations it's going through, so I'm not wandering around trying to find where it is up in the rafters or something. I know that it is going from this equipment A to B to C, and there's a drop coming down on these poles, and the poles are numbered. That's how we leverage those location systems to help us quickly identify where we need to be, where we're working. And at the end of the day, it not only does it keep us working on the right things, it also keeps people safe. Because when we start dealing with things like high voltage, and if we're blocking out or tagging out the wrong thing and we go to work on something, there's a potential for a significant issue involving human life. And the setup is critical. The understanding of the Maximo capabilities as we go through this is critical. And when we work the two together, usually what we see is a much more efficient practice. And oftentimes we even see shops that typically are going back to those actual CAD drawings or the printouts from those CAD drawings. And they're saying, no, you know what, actually, I'm getting the information I need in Maximo most of the time now. I can run it down here. I don't have to go back to the drawings. So we're saving a tremendous amount of time for those technicians. And at the end of the day, what that means is they get more done in that day. So is it a location? Is it an asset? It might be both, because that location may be of high value and something that has a capital investment in it. And how do we organize those locations so that we can get down to the asset we want? And it's very clear. We start leveraging the systems capability. So we're dividing up our assets based upon how they're used into the systems that represent that usage. And they are very easy to identify and get to. Still confused? Reach out. It's deep water. There's a lot of questions to consider, so happy to walk through that with you. Like, subscribe, get ready with Banetti.